Have you ever wondered how some people can turn away from the truth, even if it is clear as the sun in front of their eyes? In a world full of information and facts, we may find those who stand before the facts with closed hearts and minds that refuse to even contemplate them. In this video, we will stop at a great verse from the Book of Allah Almighty, which opens a window for us to understand the depths of human souls that have chosen misguidance, despite the light of truth shining before them. This verse carries deep lessons about faith, calling, and those who have chosen to turn away from the light. Allah Almighty said, "Indeed, those who disbelieve, it is all the same for them whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not believe." Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 6. Interpretation. Indeed, those who disbelieve. This phrase refers to a group of people who chose disbelief with prior knowledge. These people were not ignorant of the truth, but were fully aware of it, and yet they rejected it of their own free will. This rejection was not due to a lack of evidence or the ambiguity of the message, but rather because their hearts were filled with pride and arrogance towards the truth. These people saw faith as a threat to their personal interests or social status. The pride that overwhelmed their hearts made them unable to acknowledge the truth even if it was clear before their eyes. It is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them. This phrase depicts a state of extreme denial, where advice or warnings become ineffective. Their hearts were closed by their will, and they became indifferent to the call of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Whether he continued to call them or stopped, their position would not change. This was not because the call was weak, but because they had made a prior decision not to respond. Imagine a heart covered in a thick layer of pride, which the light of truth would not penetrate, no matter how bright it was. They do not believe. The conclusion of the verse expresses a clear and painful result. They do not believe. Their decision to refuse stems from their stubbornness and arrogance. No one forced them to take this path, but it was a choice that came from within them. Here, the justice of God Almighty is evident, for He does not wrong anyone, but they wronged themselves by closing their hearts to the truth. The eloquence of the verse. The verses of the Quran are not only words with deep meaning, but they are masterpieces of eloquence and expression. In this verse, the eloquence of the Quran appears in several aspects. It is the same for them. This phrase expresses a state of absolute indifference to the truth. It reflects the extent of denial that these people have reached, as the warning of the Prophet or his silence became equal to them. The categorical negative formula, they do not believe. This formula comes to express a final decision that they made out of stubbornness and arrogance. The word carries a heavy weight that reflects the despair of changing their position. Artistic repetition. The repetition and emphasis of meanings in this verse reflects the severity of the situation. The Quran here does not only tell a truth, but describes a deep and recurring psychological state in human history. Reasons for revelation. This verse was revealed in the context of the leaders of Quraysh, such as Abu Jahl, al-Nadir ibn al-Harith, and others. They knew the truthfulness of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and they even realized the strength of the argument he carried. However, they chose disbelief not because of weakness in the evidence, but because they feared for their status and authority. Abu Jahl, for example, used to say, "We and Banu Hashim have disputed over honor, so they fed and we fed, and they gave drink and we gave drink, until when we were like two racehorses they said, 'A prophet is among us, so when will we realize such a thing? By God, we will never believe in him.'" These words perfectly reflect the meaning of the verse. Disbelief here was not an intellectual rejection but a racist position based on pride and fear of losing power. Benefits of the verse. 1. Guidance is in the hand of Allah alone. Guidance is not in the hands of humans. No matter how hard the preacher tries, the most important role in guidance is that of Allah Almighty. Allah places light in the hearts that are ready to accept it. 2. Consolation for the Prophet Pbuh. This verse was a message that reassured the Prophet Pbuh. His role is to convey and remind, while guidance is a matter that is up to Allah. 3. Warning to the believers. This verse warns us all of the dangers of arrogance and stubbornness. Hearts that reject the truth may reach a point where there is no return. Lessons and morals. 1. Truth is a light to which the heart must be opened. Truth is not just words that are heard, but rather a light to which the heart must be opened. Hearts that are closed with arrogance and stubbornness will not benefit from any warning or advice. 2. The necessity of humility before the truth. Humility is the key to accepting the truth. If hearts are filled with arrogance, light will not find a way to them. 3. Calling to Allah requires patience. Calling to Allah is not an immediate process. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, called his people for many years, yet some continued to be stubborn. 4. Do not be sad for those who reject the truth. Preachers and reformers may feel sad when people reject the truth. But this verse teaches us that our role is only to convey the message. Finally, are we ready? Always remember that the truth is not just a word that is heard, but a light that the heart must open to. Arrogance and stubbornness can close hearts forever. Are we ready to open our hearts before stubbornness closes them? O Allah, open our hearts to the truth, and grant us guidance and steadfastness in your religion.